Stressed grass, it's turning brown. Maybe you just mowed it. Maybe it's been hot and dry for a couple of days and now you just don't know what to do with it. How you're going to handle now that it's turning brown. Now, we are going to go over a little bit of disease identification, insect identification, but overall, how to handle stress in your grass from a water standpoint, from a fertility standpoint, from a fungicide standpoint, or prevention of, of fungal infection into a now weakened grass. We're going to go over all of those in a bit of a triage, if you will, of how to handle stress grass, what to do and what not to do. So let's get started. What inspired this video? Well, there's a couple things. One, I have a Facebook page, Home Lawn Care Advice. I'll leave a link right here. You can click right on it and go right to it. What you can do there is you can take a picture of your yard, whatever's going on with it. You get some expert advice. I'm on there. There's actually another NC State graduate just joined a couple weeks ago, and there's a few other lawn care experts that can help you specifically with your yard. So if you want to go there, check it out. It's unbiased advice. Get a second opinion, and it might help you out of a pinch. In addition, what happened to me? I have a robot lawnmower mowing my yard, and I mow my Bermuda grass at an inch. So what happened was it creeped into the neighbor's yard, which has tall fescue, ryegrass, maybe a little bit of blue. You don't want to be mowing it at an inch when it is in July. Needless to say, oops, and it mowed it down that tight. And you can see here how it striped it up a little bit. And really, at the end of the day, what had happened whenever you get grass and it's stressed, go out there and look at it. Now, what happened was because it was such a significant change in height of cut, the lawnmower kind of tore the grass, and most of that discoloration is from where it did not cut it cleanly. And this is kind of important during stressful times. More frequently, you can mow your grass where you're not taking that much off the leaf blade, and that mower, sharp blades, makes a good clean cut that significantly helps your grass not go into a summer dormancy situation. So mow a little more frequently, mow ideally in the evenings, mow ideally maybe after a rain when the grass is a little bit when it's not stressed or heat stressed. That's a good way to do it as far as avoiding. But what we're talking about in this video is what to do when it starts to stress. Now, your first instinct, my first instinct in dealing with my neighbor's yard was, I'll put nitrogen on it. Now I knew better. Now you might think, well, Greg, why would you not want to put nitrogen on? You want that top growth to come on and really start growing that back in. On cool season grasses, not during stressful times. The reason being is you are, for lack of a better word, telling the grass, put on foliar growth. Now you might think, well, that's what you want. And you want it to grow out. You do want it to grow out. But it acts as a little bit of a stimulant, and that grass then puts its resources, which are limited during summer, into foliar growth and away from the root system. And right now, the root system is really stressed because of all the heat and particularly the drought during the year. Now, kind of went along with this video, but I also did a video on wetting agents. You might want to check that out as far as soil water, soil penetration, and hydrophobic conditions. So if many of you particularly use with cool season grasses, you warm season grass guys in dry, hot environments, you might want to check out the wetting agent video. It kind of goes hand in hand with this one. So what you really want to do is simply water the area and keep it watered. You probably want to go out if you're not irrigating, and many of you in the northern part of the country, and my European friends and Australian friends, it's winter down there, but during the summer, you just want to go ahead and keep it watered. And if you're not irrigating your yard, go out to those areas and syringe them in the morning and get them moist and make sure your soil moisture is optimum all the time. And that's actually what I did with this yard. Now, it's not the greatest color, but this is how it recovered in just a few days after it grew out, chickly growing out those nasty little ends where it didn't cut it very well. It actually grew out. And that's really all you need. I would not put any biostimulants out on it either. Reason being is biostimulants do indeed work. And many of you know the channel are not biostimulant. I'm not a biostimulant guy. I'm not saying they don't work. It's just not my approach. And my approach is certainly not the only approach to get where you want to be. But you don't want to tell the grass to do anything, in my opinion, more than what naturally does, because it's either naturally going into dormancy or naturally going to recover from stress. If you start filling with Mother Nature, she don't like it. That's just my philosophy, and that's what I have seen over the last 35 years. Now, Something else you might want to consider. I have a disease video, and we'll talk about a few things that might be why it's turning brown, but we're talking about when it gets there, what not to do and to do. Thing about not doing as far as disease management. Basically, as a homeowner, you have two different fungicides that you can use. You can either use the propiconazole or you can use thiophanate. What is the difference between the two? Propiconazole is a DMI fungicide. It's a sterile inhibitor. I'll leave an article down below on this specifically. It has some plant growth regulator, inhibits the grass from growing a bit. And it's these little things that are going to make the difference between grass going into dormancy, dying, or you getting it back at a reasonable time. Don't want to fiddle with its natural ability to simply survive through the summer as it can. So don't get fancy. As I say, it's not that complicated. So I don't recommend using propiconazole, a sterile inhibitor. Go with the thiophanate methyl. Now, I do have that on my Amazon storefront. If you want to check that out, it's not a marketing thing, but if you go on the Amazon storefront, you can get it there. All I care about is you guys getting the right product that you need at the price that you want. My Amazon storefront is there for you. You can use it to compare to shop. Those are products that I like, at least that I've used over the last 35 years. I've either used that specific product or use the active ingredient or use something very similar to it. And that's why I give you the Amazon storefront. Take some time out of you searching through a lot of crap. It's there for you to use. So I do recommend using thiophanate methyl at least the first couple or 3 applications after stress. Try not to use a DMI fungicide. And I go more into the disease resistance of using those 2 fungicides, particularly for duller spot resistance. Now, also we'll need to put out an inoxastrobin. You will need to do that in case there's a pythium control, so you can use those 2 in unison, if you will, and that will control all of your fungus. I go more into that into the disease video. Something else you can do, and I alluded to it earlier, but use a wetting agent. What wetting agents will do, see the video, leave the link here. It actually helps the water penetrate a hydrophobic soil, and it increases the water holding capacity of that soil through the polymers that are in that wetting agent. And I go extensively into that video if you want to check that out. Also make some recommendations for you to use to put on your yard to get that water that you're putting on your grass to infiltrate and have that soil hold the water the most efficient. So that would be something else I would do. So no nitrogen, thiophanate methyl fungicide with inoxastrobin for your pythium control, and a wetting agent. A few more no-nos. Don't put in any herbicides. Live with it. Whatever you got, if it's stressed, live with it. I do not recommend putting out. In fact, on every single herbicide label I've ever seen, all of them 100% says do not put on stress grass. Just don't do it. You're going to send it right into dormancy and probably kill it. So do be aware of that. If you do have some weeds and you do get some rain, that's why my hair is wet. That's why I got drops all over. I'm actually looking at my yard in the rain because we got some good rain last night. But if you do have clover, Dallas grass, crabgrass, goosegrass in your yard, this video is the place you want to go. It also treats Bermudagrass. You can see all the effects here of this. This is excellent for cool season yards, not good for warm season yards because there again, it will smoke Bermuda grass. So check out that video. I'll leave a link. I'll leave wherever the card is. I always point in the wrong place where the card is. And the link will also be down in the description. So if you click on that card, take you right to that video. It's a great herbicide. It costs less than $20 and I have it on my Amazon storefront. Mowing frequency. I sort of alluded to that earlier with the mowing. If you can mow your grass a little bit more frequent, take less off the leaf blade, you're better off. That's what happened over here is it took more than a third of the leaf blade off. And it really stressed that grass. 1, your mower can't handle it, but 2, that puts a lot of stress on the grass and cuts it way down, and it stresses it tremendously because it's got to build those tissues back up, and it puts resources into that. There again, taking away from the natural root, supporting the root, supporting the foliage, supporting that crown, and all the things involved with it. So if you can mow your grass a little bit more frequently, ideally late evening or early morning, or after a rain. Do not mow grass between 10 o'clock in the morning and probably 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night, particularly during July and August during those hot times. The canopy is just too doggone hot. Now, as far as canopy doing too hot, another thing you can do, I mentioned this in my summer stress video, is go out for maybe an hour maybe half hour right before sunset and give the grass a quick watering. And I'm talking quick. Maybe if you got an irrigation system, maybe a couple of rotations with the heads. If you're just hand watering, maybe you're just going to do the front yard, so you're not doing the whole doggone yard. Just do a quick syringing just like this. What that does is this. That lowers that turf canopy through evaporative cooling. It is the exact same thing as if, and you've probably seen this at Disney World, or maybe you've seen it at an NFL game on the sidelines during a hot. They have a fan and they have misters in front of them. It's misting that water onto the people. And when you go through it, it really cools you down. Well, that's evaporative cooling. So that's what you're doing to that turf canopy, particularly with cool season grasses. It is cooling it down and it'll recover a little bit more. Instead of getting that temperature probably at 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, it's getting there at 9 o'clock at night. And it gives us a few more hours for that grass to cover from the year. I actually did that when I was in the Raleigh area of North Carolina to golf course putting greens. About 7:30, I would go out. 7:30, I'd go out and do a quick about 2 rotations of the irrigation heads around the greens just to cool that canopy down. And by the time the sun went down, many of you may think, well, you're putting in, water and it might hurt your, may increase fungicide pressure. In my opinion, it doesn't, but if you do it correctly, if it dries off before the sun goes down, it gets really dark at night. In addition, in my opinion, I have no science behind this one. I usually try to cite some stuff down below. I've noted that down here at the bottom. That way you guys can do more reading on a specific topic if you want to. And, I'm not full of shit. So anyway, doing that syringing, in my opinion, kind of helps that grass recover and it's actually healthier. And if you're maintaining grass at that level where you're going to go out in the afternoon, or evening, and you're really going to water and you're going to do the hand water, you're going to have a fungicide out there anyway. So that's kind of addressing those concerns. True, they are, but that's sort of addressing those concerns. Now, as far as warm season grasses, first of all, on Bermuda grass, one thing that was bad last year was Bermudagrass mites. I'll leave a picture here in a golf course management article down below. They go into this extensively. I'm just kind of giving you guys a grocery list here. If you're getting some brown patches in Bermuda grass, check the turf canopy for Bermudagrass mites. I'll leave that golf course management article down below so you can look deeper into that. That is one thing that was really bad last year. I've seen it pop up here in a couple places this year, but that's something to look at. I seriously down in Bermuda grass and probably zoysia grass, you zoysia grass guys, forget you guys sometimes. I would be very surprised if either one of you have any fungus issues. I candidly maintain 419 Bermuda grass in the Raleigh-Durham area. I don't recall ever putting out a fungicide on Bermuda grass. I have Yukon Bermuda grass in my yard. I've never put a fungicide on it. I did have some spring dead spot last year. You can see my spring dead spot video for those of you with zoysia and Bermuda. You can see how to, and you'll be needing to address that here in probably October. So anyway, check out my spring dead spot video. Those of you with St. Augustine, centipede's fairly resistant to disease. St. Augustine, you can get some leaf spot and some things. So yes, you probably want to be a little more vigilant on those 2 species as far as your fungal control. And as far as your scouting and what it could possibly be, it's more likely a fungus on the St. Augustine and centipede than it is zoysia and Bermuda. So just a heads up on what to look for with those guys. How much water to put on? I said this in a number of my videos. Generally, my blanket recommendation, I'm making a recommendation coast to coast in some Europe and some Australia folks who are actually watching the channel. Start at, particularly if it's stressed, 1/4 inch a day. And I would try to do it at least each day if it doesn't rain. If it rains quite a bit, you can probably skip a day afterwards because you're going to have a great deal of plant available water in that soil. You won't have to go out the next day with that 1/4 inch unless you're in extreme dry climates, and probably the majority of you that I'm talking to, but probably full season grass folks, you're probably not in that situation. You could skip a day to get a lot of rain. But try to put about a 1/4 inch of water down, and there again, ideally do it in the morning with maybe a cooling drink. Cool off that turf canopy late in the evening, and that's how I'd water it. I'm going to give you a little bit of heads up. Those of you in the transition zone, that is this line going across the United States here. If any of you have cool season grasses and you are downtrodden and maybe tired of a lot of the summer stress that you're dealing with, I will give you this. This is Yukon Bermuda grass. I actually put it in my yard back in 2017. It's in my front yard. It's not in my backyard. It's underneath the shade tree. Does not tolerate shade at all. However, now it is July and it is cruising very well. The last thing I did to my Bermuda grass, actually, the last two things I've done, I put out a little bit of sedge hammer for sedge control. And the last time I fertilized it was May with actually that it's a Lowe's product. I don't even have it on my Amazon storefront. The Stay Green product is a 3003 was the last time I put it out, and that's in May, and it's still feeding. I could probably do another round and darken it up a bit, but I'm giving you a heads up that I will probably be doing my maybe redoing my overseeding video this year. I did one last year, but a little bit more, giving you a little bit more options, particularly for those of you in the transition zone. Some viewers have actually reached out and said, "Hey, what about us in the transition zone?" I'm going to mention this in the overseeding video and how to make this conversion if indeed you want a very low maintenance, very high quality grass. And this time of year, it's cruising and I don't have to do anything to it, including watering. And I don't think, nope, I didn't. I didn't put grub control on it this year either. It outgrows the grubs.
Okay, the big finish. Talked about it for 1 second, but grubs. We are past July 15th, and if you check out my grub video, you will you can go out with basically two things. This BioAdvanced product, which is basically the BioAdvanced 24-hour grub control. It is basically a knockdown. You need to water this in if you have grubs. Now, the difference between a surface feeder, for the most part, this is general overall. It's different between surface feeder when when your grass is going brown. Talked about this with the Bermuda grass guys, warm season grass guys a moment ago, and grubs, surface feeders and grubs. Surface feeders generally, when you go out there and you pull on the grass, it's going to come up from the top of the grass. Okay, the top, basically from the crown. Okay, you're not going to pull the roots up. When you have grubs, you're going to pull on the grass, and it's actually going to come up like a carpet. That is essentially the difference between the two. Okay. If you do have grubs, you go out with that BioAdvanced 24-hour grub control. There's also, you have the option of going out with the chlorotranilipole product, which is basically scrub disease EX. And I have all these on my Amazon storefront. There again, link, I put the link card down below. It's in the first comment and in the description. So that if you're going out after July 12th, you really have to have that knockdown because those grubs are actively feeding and they will continue to feed aggressively in your yard. So you really need to get something on there and get it taken care of as soon as humanly possible. The BioAdvanced Grub Control will essentially give you 30 days of control. But this time of year, will you need to follow up? Possibly, but I don't think so because essentially there are no more uh, chafers, Japanese beetles, June bugs, what have you, going to be laying eggs back into your yard. They're all done their thing, put their eggs into the yard now. They have matured into a larva, I think, next, and pupa, and now they're feeding on your roots, and that's where the BioAdvanced 24 hours is going to knock them out. I don't really think you'll have to follow back up with anything else after that, but if you want to be super safe, you can go out with chlorotranilipole product. So either one of those, but I'd be more inclined to go out with that BioAdvanced 24-hour grub control just to knock everything down because it's going to the chlorotranilipole product is a systemic and it will last the rest of the year, but it will take a few more days. And this time of year, you really need to knock the shit out of them. or they're a couple more days of feeding in your yard as aggressive as they're doing, particularly in August. You really need to knock them down. So if it's coming up like a carpet, that's grubs. Anyway, so that's what you're going to do as far as if you get brown grass during the summer. That is not 100% of everything, but I did want to give some guidance to folks and maybe give you some ideas. Now, if it is gone and if it is dead, do not let your heart be troubled, okay? Look at it as an opportunity. Alluded to this about the Bermuda grass conversion, if you will. See it as an opportunity this fall, or if you want to go to this Bermuda grass conversion sometime next May, mid-spring, to put better varieties in your yard and get the right species for your yard. I'll talk about that in the overseeding video or the revised version, if you will, of the overseeding video. The overseeding video I got, I still like it a lot, but I'm going to throw a little bit about that Bermuda grass in there too. And I'm probably not going to have to do, hopefully, because I put good species into the tall fescue ryegrass yard I've got. And the backyard's doing actually very well this year. And I've used some very, very high quality tall fescue in both those yards, and it's performing very well this year. So see it as an opportunity, not as a defeat. So anyway, hope this helps. And check out the Facebook page. Put comments down below of any products that you might want to see or any product problems that you have. I try to get to the comments and the Facebook page in the morning. This is actually morning after a good rain. So anyway, I'm agronomist Greg Phillips, and remember, it's not that complicated.